A few days ago, I decided to go chill by the river, right? This is something that I love to do. It's one of my biggest passion, like just spending time in nature, walking barefoot, taking some dips in the river, all of that, right? And I noticed a couple, right? Like they were sitting not far from me, and I instantly saw that something was off between them, right? There was almost like a wall between them, really. No hand holding, no kissing, no hugging. There was something going on. I didn't know, right? But I just continued to chill, right? I started to do my yoga. I went to take a dip. You know, I went on with my life. Then this couple left. So, I was like, okay, life is good. But interestingly enough, a few hours later, the guy went to approach me and started to talk to me. He offered me some strawberries, right? So at first I was like, wow, it's pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't happen to me that often that someone approached me like this, So I was like, cool. And he was a yoga teacher. So I was like, wow, great. Like, he's also into spirituality. I've been practicing yoga for 3 years now. I do it every single day, right? For an hour and a half. So I started to just open up about my yoga practices, and he opened up about his yoga practices. And I'm not going to go into the details here, but we were doing very different kind of spirituality. Yeah. And then the conversation went sideways, like complete sideways. And he started to open up about his relationship because obviously, like, I could sense there was something off. Right? So he started to share with me that, like, it was going really well at the beginning. We danced together. We met at a party. We started to dance together. There was this crazy connection. We were dancing so perfectly. But then, when we had sex, that's what he said, I just didn't feel it, right? And then he starts to tell me, like, but I'm able to give her so many orgasms, right? Sex is good on the paper, but I don't feel fulfilled. And then he started to talk about, we started to travel together. We have this camping van, I don't know how you call it. And this feeling of emptiness has been growing and growing and growing, right? And he's been trying to figure it out, like, okay, like, what is actually going on, right? And he's trying to be compassionate with her. He's trying to wait that the connection becomes stronger because he thinks that maybe with time it's going to get better. He's thinking, oh, maybe I'm avoiding something here, right? Maybe there is a shadow. Maybe I'm scared of commitment, blah, He was very well aware of his problems, right? Of his own stuff. And we just continued to talk like this, right? And at one point, I felt something intuitively, because I was like, it's interesting. On the paper, they look like they should be having the best connection, but there's something not really clicking. So I remember a few months ago, I had a client that came to me. He was in a relationship, recently like entered in a relationship, and same thing happened. The girl was amazing on the paper, right? Like, she was religious, conscious, very feminine, blah, blah, but no chemistry, no connection. And so I asked him, do you like her smell? Right? Such a simple question. Do you like the smell of her pussy when you eat her out? Do you like her sweat? I know it's a weird one, right? But really, he'll be surprised. And so when I asked this question to this yoga teacher, he stopped, closed his eyes. There was like this moment, and he said, I wish I could say yes, but the answer is no. And then he starts to open up that he doesn't really eat her pussy, and And so I told him, you trying to continue a relationship that is not even supposed to happen in the first place. And he didn't really receive that fully, you know, and that's up to him. He can do whatever he wants with his life. But I know for a fact that if you don't have this pheromone kind of attraction with the woman, it doesn't matter how much you try to be open with her, how much she's trying to be good to you, right? Making you feel happy in the relationship and you trying to make her feel happy in the relationship. It doesn't matter how much compassion you have for each other, empathy, how much sex you have, you know, all of this. If you don't like her smell, it's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. I mean, you can be friend in a relationship, right? There's a lot of relationships like this. You know, but if you're watching this, you probably don't want this kind of relationship. You want a relationship where the polarity is here, where you feel the deep connection, where you feel like you want to fuck her so badly, where whenever you want to eat her pussy, you go absolutely nuts for her, right? I mean, I hope you want this kind of relationship because it's quite fulfilling to have. And so when I shared to him this, like I said, he didn't fully receive it, but then he asked me like, oh, but what about your relationship? And I told him, my relationship is, I mean, we're not perfect. I don't want you to think that my relationship is so perfect. We have our fights sometimes. But I am so fulfilled in this relationship. She is so fulfilled in this relationship as well. The sex that we have has been getting better and better and better. And it's been more than 2 years that we are together. Most couples, after 1 year, the sex gets boring. Like, the sex that we have is insane. Just a few days ago, like, we had a crazy sex, for example. I'm not going to go into the details. This is not the topic of the video, and I don't want YouTube to ban this video as well. So I will not talk about sex here. But we have really, really good sex. And we have this constant open conversation. We're always honest with each other and all of this. And it's a lot of work. Like, it took a lot of work for me to have this relationship. Prior to the relationship, by doing the internal work, right, to understand my fears, my insecurities in regards to being in a relationship, right? But also within the relationship, right? Accepting each other's flaws. That's, I think, the most difficult part of being in a relationship. Anyway, that's out of the topic, but what I want to say in this video is whenever you have a potential date with a woman, remember that sometimes everything is going to look good on the paper, but if there's not this pheromone kind of attraction, it doesn't fucking matter. And she can be like the absolute 10 out of 10, right? And it's just not gonna work. And I remember realizing this a long time ago. I'm talking like 6 years ago, maybe. I was in a club and I met this girl before the club, actually, but we texted and we met at the club. And she was my exact type, right? She was this model kind of woman. So at the time I was really into models. And we kissed in the club. I was fingering her in the club. Also, I invited her to my place. And I couldn't get it up when we started to have sex. I couldn't. And this was the weirdest experience for me because I had in front of me this absolute stunner, right? So beautiful woman. And I couldn't get it up. And it's not that I was anxious or that I was scared or all of this. It's just like, I didn't feel, you know, this thing. And I didn't like her smell. Let me tell you that. I didn't eat her pussy. Definitely didn't, right? And this happened to this guy, this yoga teacher. He doesn't really want to fuck his girlfriend because there's no pheromone attraction, right? So you cannot force this, right? Because this yoga teacher was using drugs, right? He was using weed, mushrooms, and MDMA to connect with his girlfriend. But you're escaping here when you do this. Because, yeah, sure, you feel good when you smoke the weed or when you take the mushroom and you get into a different state of consciousness and all of this. But you're bullshitting yourself because you don't really feel the connection in the first place. right? You can do all these things if the connection is already there, and it can be a very interesting experience. Sometime with my girlfriend, we smoke weed, and it's amazing. We have amazing sex when we smoke weed, amazing conversations and all of that. But we can also have amazing sex without weed and amazing conversation without weed too, right? Anyway, this is a bit of a rant. I'm just rambling some stuff here. I hope you enjoy watching this, and I see you when I see you, my brother.